Diablo. This game's fame is best encapsulated by its own title, a name that is echoed throughout the history of mankind. A game about the devil, Lucifer, Satan, the Antichrist, a fallen angel. This game is a first of its kind. Not only did it succeed in terrifying children and adults alike, it is responsible for catapulting the world of gaming into online interaction. Diablo and Battle.net single-handedly cemented the idea that games were meant to be played with people across the world. In 1996, an action horror RPG where you could hunt monsters and demons together with friends and strangers was truly fascinating at the time. What might be considered a requirement for gaming today was a luxury and phenomena of the past. Diablo is remembered for many reasons, and as I played through the first Diablo this past month, albeit a high-quality mod named Belzebub, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that has some quality of life additions, I felt the need to review and talk about this game. Many older aspects of the game were not only prominent, but still the reason I enjoyed this game. The game's plot is simple, effective, and yet somehow challenges the complexities of fear and the ideals of religion. You're a lone traveler that has arrived at the cursed town of Tristram, a town that has been abandoned by the royal succession of King Leoric, who is in search of his missing son, and has been twisted by the manipulative hands of the Archbishop Lazarus. Besides a plot twist or two, that's pretty much it without spoiling too much. The mod expands the Diablo 1 experience by adding bosses that appeared in later titles. This is some fan service that was definitely appreciated, but it doesn't really alter the story that much. The game's approach to storytelling is strong, and rather than telling us things explicitly, it instead allows us to experience it firsthand through its atmosphere and presentation. Within the first minutes of playing, you come across a dying man who speaks of the Archbishop Lazarus and a demon named the Butcher. Lazarus had led a band of angry and frenzied townsfolk into the town's church basement as a trap, with the Butcher killing most of them, and now it's your job to explore the basement and kill this horrific demon. This first piece of the game is remembered by many people who played Diablo 1. Not only was the Butcher's room itself terrifying and shocking, but exploring the church basement for the first time was genuinely unsettling. The developers of Diablo had created an atmosphere that many other games to this day fail to achieve. The church basement's choir, intense percussion, string instrumentation, moans, screams, and instability seriously drove me away from playing this game as a kid. Yes, I had access to this game as a kid, but it wasn't until years later that I was able to gather enough courage to explore the deepest parts of the church basement. Little did I know that there was even more beyond that. Although I've been talking about the game's atmosphere and presentation, it should be stated that this game is no stranger to gore. The way that certain enemies can fall apart and gush out blood only adds to the intensity of the game. The gritty and old graphics can also add quite a bit of ambiguity to the game as well, allowing your imagination to run wild. Honestly, it was the first game that I had ever played with an M rating, besides certain areas like the Butcher's Room, and hell, it really isn't too excessive. The random map generator seemingly timed these dark thematics appropriately, creating a vicious and intimidating environment. As I stated before, the game doesn't stop once you reach the bottom of the church basement. Thereafter are the catacombs, the caves, and hell itself, each area presenting a unique aesthetic. It's important to understand David Brevik's intentions with Diablo. The monsters and demons within the game were designed to hunt you. Unlike Diablo 2 and 3, where you are actively hunting and ripping through monsters, in Diablo 1, you are usually in a constant state of panic. Step too far in one open area and you've attracted the unwelcome attention of every beast in the area. Stay too far back and something that's been stalking you will pop out around a corner, forcing you to make a hasty decision. It feels like the AI of the Belzebub mob has been improved, which makes cornering mobs all the more frustrating in a bad way. The game itself isn't very complicated when it comes to combat. Click over and over until an enemy dies. Keep an eye on your health and use potions when your health is low. The game's age really starts the show here. A lot of the time you'll end up swinging and missing because of faulty hit detection or in-game lagginess. It's probably part of the reason fighting ranged mobs are so frustrating to kill. I would actually switch to my bow, which was significantly weaker than my main weapon, to lessen my frustration even though it took just as long to kill those enemies. I almost wish that I had played another character despite my favoritism towards melee classes. There are plenty of magic spells to learn and use, which I didn't experiment with much this playthrough. Not to mention the creators of this mod added a lot of new spells, even ones that were geared towards melee classes. All of this combined with the game's dark, gritty, gothic atmosphere, haunting music, monster AI, and game design really cements the idea that you are a lone adventurer moving through a corrupted dungeon. Unless, of course, if you're playing with friends, which the mod needed another mod on top of already modding the original game. So, yeah. It should be noted that playing with a friend or stranger significantly increases the power of all enemies, so the same intensity was always present regardless. To my surprise, the Belzebub mod went even further and had integrated unique moves to each class in the game, not to mention entirely new classes that were not present in the original. No longer are classes just early stat distributions like in the original, but they all come with strong, unique abilities. You can still learn most of the magic in-game if you pour level ups into your magic stat, however it seems unwise considering your abilities feed off your primary stat, in my case strength. Because of my unwillingness to check my spellbook, I barely realized all of this until level 16. Well, I guess that's part of the learning experience. It's very clear that the creators of this mod took from other Diablo games as well. From skills, borrowed lore, crafting, waypoints, and stashes, the game feels refreshing in a new, exciting way. Major props to the modders, and those are all solid additions. The game also includes an extra Inferno difficulty, which is a nod to Diablo 3's difficulty settings. I haven't even dabbled in Nightmare mode yet. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Diablo franchise as a whole, the real draw to such a game is the loot. It actually set a standard for future RPGs and even the juggernaut World of Warcraft. As you tear through minions and kill bosses, you will receive weapons, armors, amulets, rings, and spellbooks. Most will need identified as their rarity will determine magical properties. The various rarities are as follows: common, magic, rare, unique, and set. Unique and set items have specific attributes that are unique only to that item. This system has transcended consoles, genres, and always finds its way into gaming. It is timeless. Loot is integral to improving your character through damage reduction, stat increases, improving your life total, mana, and literally dozens of other ways. There's nothing more satisfying than picking up unique and set items and watching your stash fill up slowly. If this game had an online mode, I would be having a ball trading and seeing what kinds of sets I could complete. When playing alone, it's extremely difficult to complete any sets. Each piece that you have in an item set gives further stat bonuses, so it could be really thrilling seeing a green piece of loot drop. Any monster that you kill has a chance of dropping these various pieces of gear, however killing a rare monster or boss has significantly increased chance of rewarding you with a unique or set item. There are plenty of quests and objectives to tackle in this game, from the very first major quest, the Butcher, to the Tainted Water Supply, the Halls of the Blind, and the Anvil of Fury. There are so many others, and there's always things to do. Or, if you felt like ignoring all of them, you were more than welcome to do so. The game originally had quest presets that were chosen randomly upon character creation, so every playthrough was fresh. However, in the Belzebub mod, they actually went above and beyond, improving old quests and including quests that were actually removed from the original. That is amazing, and this all leads to a more natural game pace as a result. They even guaranteed some uniques as you completed these quests, giving you the necessary strength to push through some dungeon levels. It should be noted that quests aren't exclusively for storytelling. The quests are imperative in helping you understand the various characters throughout Tristram. While you don't have to seek conversation with any of the townsfolk, they will often give you advice on a quest or will gossip about the others in town. Deckard Cain, Griswold, and Farnham the Drunk were always my favorites growing up. Cain is a wealth of knowledge on all things heaven and hell, not to mention his storytelling is famous throughout the gaming community. Griswold's Scottish accent, kind demeanor, and central location made him one of my go-to characters, and Farnham always gave me a laugh with his drunken rants, despite his tragic history. These characters altogether seem to complete the dark, dreary feel of Tristram. Even when you escape the dungeon floors with the nifty town portal, you rarely feel comfortable in Tristram, even with all the various personalities. The music that accompanies your walk throughout town is recognized through the gaming community for a reason. Just something about it makes you feel the looming presence of doom and despair. Before I end up wrapping things up, I will say that the finale of this game was a bit frustrating due to my class. However, if you are persistent, regardless of what you play, you will be able to push through and slay the Lord of Terror. The first Diablo is something that most people should consider playing at some point. Even though the game sometimes looks and feels aged, it has a lot to offer, especially with the Belzebub mod. Diablo defined a part of gaming history by allowing people from across the world to play with one another. It set the standards for the gaming world when it came to online play, how it should be free, easy to use, and exciting. By building a game from the ground up as a single-player experience and letting online play follow, it became this phenomenon that people still love today. I will never forget my first time loading up the game screen and seeing the devil's visage emblazoned by the name Diablo, not knowing what to expect. Every time I start a new character and hear the haunting music of Tristram, it brings me back to the first time that I played this game. My nostalgia for this game is substantial, that much is obvious. However, objectively speaking, this game with some small quality of life additions was just as much fun as the first time that I had ever played Diablo. With Blizzard's recent free release and update of StarCraft, I can only hope that they will do the same for Diablo. In fact, Blizzard, please contact the guys who created this mod. They hit the nail right on the head. Props for them for doing such an amazing job. They would be paramount in helping Blizzard achieve a respectful remaster of Diablo. So, with all this being said, I give the Diablo Belzebub mod a 9.5 out of 10. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope all of you have enjoyed my retreat back to retro reviews. With so many of my videos being centralized around Diablo 2 and 3, I felt that I've been neglecting our original intentions of creating this YouTube channel. I do want to tackle some more Diablo news in the future, but I definitely want to continue forth with reviewing some older games. I have some big plans, so stay tuned. Hopefully some of you will recognize the next game that I'm reviewing. It's another PC game that plays similarly to Diablo, but was also ahead of its time for another genre of games. The Super Retro Bros have a lot more content coming your way, so until next time, thanks for watching.